Okay. Let's see. It's only luckily I managed to boot everything up before people got here. So this time I'm ahead. Let's just wait for people to show up. My cat is sitting directly in front of my mic, so if she says anything, people are going to be able to hear it. It's weird. Usually when I do videos, she'll wait until like right after I finish. I think she just can realize that I'm doing something, and the second I stop talking, she just starts being maybe quiet real quick and see if it works. She's looking at me. She's just staring at me, and I don't know. I don't know what this cat wants. But anyway, hello anybody that is popping in, showing up. We got crazy Selene action this chapter, and for real, like every time that she's been on screen has been a huge rise in Selene's value. Like she's either doing stuff for her character, or she's doing stuff for lore, or she's doing stuff for power level craziness. Like Selene is just delivering in like every single category that she's in. Like I won't be surprised if we end up finding out some more information on like the Magna Carta or something from her. Hey, what's up, JK Network? How are you doing today? How's everyone doing? I mean, I'm sure there'll be people that pop in later, but I mean, also anybody who listens to this later that isn't watching it live, it'll count. The hello, how are you will count towards that as well. So I hope at that point they will answer in the comment section. That's my shield go for what is it? Just general activity, I guess, for interaction. Selene plant level #1 for fairy tale fan. I mean, yeah, that's like her starting to get somewhat serious passively is apparently planet level, and I mean, I believe it just based off the fact that it would have to be much bigger than the actual moon. At least, under the assumption that the moon in Elantir is about as big as our moon, just like the general moon size. I mean, that's not like a far assumption. You're not assuming it's bigger or smaller. It's just like, yeah, baseline. Can't wait to see the troll Naruto fans using Selene versus Smash. The thing is, like, Selene is also hacks, and she's also a dragon, so she would have a immunity pretty much to like jutsu in general, just because like energy equalization. So you treat chakra and magic as the same systems. It's like it's such a dangerous like ability just to have on top of existing on top of your other abilities, just to have this borderline immunity to the that whole moveset and whole power system that either is magic or with energy equalized, same in same verse. Like Selene has done wonders for my hype. Like with Merciful and Alderon, they're both really cool. I like them, but like Selene since like day one has just showed up to impress. Like we got just like general hype from her from like the first two times we saw her, and then as soon as she actually showed up in the in the relation to the story, like when they were in Endless and whatnot, we got like her flashback where she's just flexing on Ferris, and then we get actually her, and she's like casually blocking like attacks from Natsu, and then just like, all right, and then just pulls them to Elantir. Justice voice actors revealed the same as y'all. I feel like that's obvious though. I did see that Mishima hinted a little bit at it, and he said that the fate between Justice and Elsie is gonna be like a sad one, which I like. I liked it a lot. I liked it. It's like Urza and Jalal. That's like the good ending, where it's like apparently Justice and Elsie is the bad ending, and I've believed that they couldn't go towards a happier ending after we saw like their first real interaction, and they both tried to kill each other. Like it wasn't a I'm mad, let's fight. Like they both had the intention of killing the other person. So I didn't really see any form of happy ending for them. Personally, I think they're gonna go down as like a Romeo and Juliet style double death. That's just my assumption of what Mishima is doing, and I think it will really work with what the whole enemy kingdoms that seem to have went to war, and it's just what he's planning. This is my guess right now. Maybe it'll be like reverse, and Elsie will die and Justice will live. And I'm just kind of like, obviously there was no equivalent to Urza or Elsie and Rave Master, but those who read Rave Master understand where I'm kind of like edging at. What's up, Phil Jones? How are you doing today? Which is Japanese voice actress is going to be the same as Charmy's Witch? Really? Same as Charmy's? That's going to be weird. Is she like one of those voice actors that like can just do a completely separate voice? Like it doesn't, you wouldn't even know unless you looked it up. Because I guess like though with Charmy, she's doing like a little bit sillier of a tone in Japanese. So maybe she'll just talk with like her normal voice or something when it comes down to like when it comes down to using witch, because I don't think for saying witch would ever have like a silly voice, so it'll be strange if she ends up, you know, like I said, having a stranger voice. But yeah, what's up with everyone today? How are they going on a nice Tuesday? I had an appointment scheduled, but apparently it was the time was scheduled like wrong. It was like over the phone, and it was, I guess, Eastern Standard Time, but I thought it was Western Standard Time, and so I had to reschedule for tomorrow because I missed it. I'm agitated as hell about that, so I gotta try and work my setup tomorrow in order to accommodate. I wish I had more sick hours at work. I just call in, but I don't have enough. I've been using them lately. Let's see, I'm so offended that Ruffy and Shiki rejected. Why would he want to be friends with Shura? Like Shura's not a good guy. And on top of that, like, we know that Shura just is fine with killing the all the machines, all the cyborgs, the androids, and, you know, Shiki wasn't going to have that. It didn't surprise me at all when Shiki just mentioned that. It's like, oh yeah, like, Shiki, I forgot about this. Shiki is not going to accept the guy that, from Shiki's perspective, is trying to commit mass murder. What's up with you? Why do you hate Power, though, 45? She's cool. I like the rivalry between Shiki and Shura so far. I don't know if it's a rivalry. It's more like nemesis. Like they just outright opponents to each other. Shiki just does not have any form of, he doesn't have any form of like towards Shura, and I can understand that. Like it doesn't seem like at any point he's going to like Shura. So hopefully we can. The only thing I would say is, like, I want to know if Mishima is going to set Shura to be a longer lasting antagonist, or if he is just going to be a bad guy in this arc. That's the only thing I would say that I would like to find out about, like, Shura. Like, that I'm impatient about. Because, I mean, he could just be a one-arc bad guy. I mean, especially with Mishima giving him a lot of spotlight right now. Like, he's been giving him, a pretty good amount of attention since we got down to, like, actual, like, to the like, more moving portions of the story. Since Shura's character, you know, ended up killing, like, the one Ocean and got put in charge, he's taken a lot of I would say, very, not needed, but kind of, like, well set spotlight. And I do like that. I'm enjoying that so far. Oh, it's a reference to I Buy Power? I don't know if I know. Oh, wait. Your country. I don't know if I know this reference. Do you think Future Rogue is Spriggan level? No. Absolutely not. No way. If he was Spriggan level, he would have no-diffed everybody there with no problem. Nobody within the Grand Magic Games would have stood a chance. The thing is, he ran away from Ultir. Like, he fled Ultir. So I do not believe that he is in any way Spriggan level. You put a Spriggan in that same situation and Ultir tries to attack him, they're going to no-differ. Let's see. Shura's eyes were blacked out. Shows that he was offended. He was upset. I mean, but who cares at that point? Like, why would Shiki in any way care about, like, how Shura felt? Like, Shura's not a good person. Do you read manhwa? I haven't read any in a while. The last one I read was Four Cut Hero. The thing I always have about manhwa is, like, they ended up taking way too long, and a lot of their premises start very similarly. But it's like, it's not like a lot of shonen battle manga where there are similar aspects to them. But they all move at their own paces, and for the most part, like, Weekly Shonen Jump series move at, like, a pretty well pace. You know, I was always fine with some of the slower moving ones that, you know, they like to take their time, get things set up, or the ones that move a lot faster. But when it comes to a lot of manhwa, they move so slow that, I don't know, I just get frustrated with it. Because sometimes you'll get, like, a week, and that's, like, a chapter all the character did was, you know, do a couple bits of training, and you didn't even really get anything. Like, I remember reading a couple in bulk. I think it was I read The Gamer. Actually, I think The Gamer was the last one I read, and I got like 100 or 200 chapters in, and some of those chapters just like almost nothing happened. It's so weird. I don't know what it is and like what like the different style is. Maybe they just have more room to kind of do stuff like that, and I'm not against it. There's a lot of ways it can be beneficial, but from a standpoint of me reading it, like imagine if I tried to review something like that and I just tried to review a chapter I had almost nothing to talk about. I always get really frustrated when you have stuff like that, because then it's just like, I don't want to have to try and force myself to talk about stuff, but I know that there are fans who wait for it. I still have like 2 chapters of what is it? Freaking He Knew I Got Crushed I gotta review. I haven't read like the last 2 chapters. So I'll probably end up doing like a triple review on the next one. I've been slacking, and every time I think about it, it's like a week's pass. I'm like, well, shit. Oh, let me get into some of these comments. Looks like some people are showing up. Hello, everybody. What's going on? How's everyone doing today? People compared Shura to Zancro. To your thoughts? Oh, that'd be cool. Like, Shura's got the spotlight right now that I wish Zancro had. I always liked Zancro. Unfortunately, Zancro's value amounted mostly just to kind of like a opening boss character for Natsu. He gave a little bit of setup for like introducing Slayers being able to adapt to variations of their elements. It's one of those things, like, not every character is going to get as much spotlight as you hoped. There's always going to be ones that are like that. So I can't be that upset about it. I always really liked Zancro though. I mean, I did a video on him. I still gotta do that freaking Sting video. I gotta take some time out of my schedule and do that at some point. Maybe this weekend. I just been slacking a little bit. I've been real busy in real life, so I haven't had as much time to do some of the videos that I want. I gotta start like just writing stuff down and keeping an idea of like of kind of like a plan. This is like of just what I plan to do for videos in the future. Maybe get like a couple ideas ahead of time. So I know there's a few that I still want to do. Like, especially there's 2 videos that I have planned. One of them is like way in the future, so I don't worry as much about it. It's like, it's a general, like, I won't go too much into it, but it's like an idea of how I think, at least potentially, like the next power-up form for Gaggia will be, assuming it's not Dragon Force. But we'll see. Let me see what else is going on here. What are your thoughts on the Volume 15 afterward, foreshadowing future deaths? Oh, luckily I talked about that. I mean, I assume any of the bad guys I assume are going to die. Mishima doesn't kill off a lot of the protagonists very often. I've always liked an aspect of that in shonen where they don't kill off characters like very often, like protagonists at least. But then when they do, it's like enough build up that it hits really hard. Whereas when it comes to some series, like, they can handle it as like characters can die off very regularly. But the thing about that I was never as much of a fan of is then, like, I get the idea, like, some deaths aren't going to be as, like, impactful or as, like, big and important and stuff. But it's just like, man, I just don't really like the idea of whenever a character dies off if I'm not rattled by it, It's like, you just think about, like, any major deaths in, like, a lot of, like, the bigger shonen jumps. Or, anything adjacent to that, any shonen magazine or shonen Sundays or whatever. I'm trying really hard to catch myself and stop saying let's see. Someone brought it up, and it's funny because that's usually what happens in a video. That I've noticed is, like, I'll say like a word or something, and then I'll just continuously do it for like the span of the video. But it'll be like I don't know, a key phrase or something that I'll just kind of like lock onto. Negan's pathetic after 7 years of training. Future Rogue never reached Spriggan level. No, I mean, why would he? He was stuck in a world where it was like brought to ruin by Acnologia, and he was just trying to master dragon manipulation magic. It's not like he was just standing there training for 7 straight years. And it's not like a lot of people are going to actually achieve Spriggan level. Like, that's a big deal. Those are the big boys. And especially for, like, even Sting and Rogue, like, they with Dragon Force together and countering, they were able to defeat Larkade, and Cogger was involved in it as well. But a lot of variables are in there. So it's like Sting or Rogue by themselves, no form of addition from an outside source or anything like that, it's going to be difficult. You see Yuki Holders ending 9 chapters. 9 chapters are surprising. I'm gonna wait till it ends and then I'm gonna read it, because like I read it when it was weekly, and then after it was monthly, it just had that unfortunate setup of I forget about chapters at times for monthlies. It's like one of the things about monthlies, if they don't have an official translation, and I think actually Yuki Holder might, but if if it's not as consistent, like, if it skips a month, then it's like, okay, and then it's going to be like 2 to 3 months plus of time that I don't read it, and then it kind of like, the amount of time stacks, and that just makes me more forgetful, because, there's all these other things that I'm doing, plus real life stuff, and, anything like that. Magnus spell against Dante so bullshit. Why? The whole explanation of, like, how the traps worked made a lot of sense, and on top of that, explained why Zora was able to use mana method and able to make his traps, and why like his were so much different than the ones we saw in the Heart Kingdom. I liked it. And plus, if it's prep time and he only can really go into battle with one of those beforehand, I think that's fine. Because the thing about, realistically, Dante versus Magna, even if Magna had it, if Dante just wasn't so reckless, then Magna wouldn't have landed it on him. If the second Magna showed up, Dante just used President of the Demon King, or really just kind of like uses body magic and punched him hard enough, Magna would have been defeated. It's because of the fact that he decided to kind of be too reckless to fuck around and let somebody land an attack like that on him. That's one of those things when it comes to like high-level regeneration and immortal type characters, is they're very overconfident in that aspect of their ability. And because of that, they'll recklessly fight somebody and not try and dodge things. So, if you have a character who has a good enough hacks, they can take them out, one of these characters like that, because of just the way their personality is. And I've been saying that for a while, because it's not just something that applies to Dante. It's applied to other characters, but it's something I saw in Dante and figured, if a character goes against Dante and they have a good enough hacks, he's going to stand there and he's going to get caught, and that's his fault. I like Dante. Like, I'm more probably... I don't know about, like, the mass of Dante fans. I know he actually did pretty well in the last character popularity poll in Japan. But, like, at least from, like, a lot of the really active people that I talk to in Black Colored, like, especially the other YouTuber guys, like, they aren't... Like, I don't think any of them are really a fan of Dante, because Dante just... He hasn't been... Like, he's been a little bit down bad, but the thing about Dante is, like, he has to get into a spot where he has to get pissed, he gets humiliated, he just, he's got all these negative emotions, because that's what motivates him. And I like what Tabata did with him, because of how it lets other characters kind of just take advantage of, of just his reckless nature and aspects about him. But in the process of it, it also motivates Dante and causes Dante to put more effort in. And I'm hoping Dante will use this whole situation with Magna to just kind of like get into his head a little bit of perspective, where he stops being so careless and he realizes, like, yeah, I should probably dodge some characters' attacks. I should not just let people hit me with stuff, and I shouldn't just like let dudes just attack me. Like, that's a bad idea. Like, imagine if it was somebody like I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. Like, it would be like if he tried to do that to Asta, like, say, like, he fought Asta, and he didn't know anything about anti-magic, and it had nothing to do with, like, the fight at the Black Bull's base. It's just you put Asta in front of Dante. Dante says, oh, you don't have any magic or anything, just attack me and go. It's the same, essentially the same setup as he had with Magna. And, just take, not talking about the story, just take that whole setup and put Asta in there. Asta goes and gets, like, a big, heavy, powerful swing, then Dante would lose. It's something that Dante needs to learn, and this fight right now has a lot... I think it has the teetering point of Dante's value on the line, because it's either going to be, is Tabata going to have him just get defeated, or you keep using him as a punching bag, or is this a point to grow Dante's character more forward? Is Dante going to end up, like, kind of like progressing, essentially, after this point, after this chapter, or at least after this fight, rather? Because, like, I don't expect Dante to be... I don't expect him just to, like, every single, like, moment come out as like, oh, some super progressed freaking dude. Like, he learned 80 million freaking things from this fight. But I'm hoping that Dante can... I'm just hoping that he can figure out, like, yeah, I should probably be a little bit more careful in fights. Not say, hey, just attack me. Because it's look at someone like Langris. Or, it's not talking about, like, the power, I'm sure the power level difference would come into play somewhat. But it's like, imagine he, went spatially cut Dante to where, like, his spatial cutting covered the mass of his whole body and it just erased him. It's one of those things. Like, he has to learn that he can't just stand there. He's got to freaking actually pay attention to his opponents. So, what do you say is more irredeemable, Shura or Shigaraki? I mean, they're both pretty irredeemable. Between the two of them, I don't really know where you would kind of gauge the differences in, like, what they've done. The thing about Shigaraki, though, that I think gets him a little less points is he's clearly very crazy. Like, there's no mental stability. The difference between him and Shura is Shura just doesn't seem to hold any value to people that he doesn't... Like anybody that he doesn't have any value in, rather, is somebody that he just sees almost as an inanimate object or someone replaceable or somebody that he can just kill with no remorse. And it's a level of just crazy, but it's not the same as, like, what I would kind of see with Shigaraki. With Shigaraki, it's more that he's mentally unstable. Like, he's so far gone, there's no saving his psyche. Whereas, like, Shura I think is just a rotten individual. He's just kind of evil. It comes down to, I think, really if you gauge their mental state of, like, where you would say the gap between the two of them. Because obviously Shigaraki has killed more people, but Shura is planning to kill more people, and he's, like, in a position to have more power, to have more, just to have more lives, kind of teetering and like in his hands. Do you know page count, like me as a writer who has to meet as a word quota? Oh, well, that sucks, man. How's it going, Ketty fanboy? How are you doing today? Why isn't Anna in 100 Years Ago? She's probably met the... Man, I was like Pentadrakes. That was, like, the worst translation ever. She's busy. She's working. She's a teacher now. Like, I don't know why she would really want to be involved in any of this, to be perfectly honest, though. I'm still curious if she's going to be in 100 Years Quest, if she's going to have, like, a spot where she shows up, because, like, she has the full potential to, in my belief, the full potential to show up in Elentier. If she has she had the ability, seemingly, to mess with the space between time, so I think, in full belief, that she... that she could open portals. Like, if she can mess with spatial magic on the level of concepts, I think that she should be able just to open portals to different dimensions. That's headcanon, though. I would definitely not, like, bet money on it, but it's something that I think is logically available to her. Like, just because I don't think opening a portal to another dimension is more difficult than messing with a little hole in the universe that's like a product of strain on the time stream. When you first saw Sting said he killed the dragon at the time, do you think it was Cap? I didn't really believe him that much. But the thing is, like, that messed with my head a little bit when I was, like, thinking about it, like, way back in the day, was, like, even if he was right, we didn't know how strong a regular dragon was. Oh, thank you for the subscription. Let me see who it is. Baby Too Breezy, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it very much. I lost my train of thought. Oh, I wasn't 100% sure if he was lying or not, but I was just like, well, even if he's telling the truth, like, would it even really matter that much? When he said that he could defeat Logia, I didn't believe that. I didn't believe that at all. Because the thing about even not knowing, like, his whole status as Dragon King and stuff, he was stronger than Gildarts. Like, he fodderized Gildarts. We knew that from, obviously, Gildarts himself. So it's like, these guys, I didn't believe for a second these guys were more powerful than him. Like, not even for a second. It just, that part was the big, definitely not, like, definitely not sure about you guys kind of moment. I was just like, there's no way they're more powerful than Gildarts. Like, I just didn't think that was... It's not that a character being stronger than Gildarts to me was possible. or was impossible. But it was like these guys, like they're opponents for Natsu and Gajil in this arc, and it was just like strong in the guild trading. No way. I did think that the whole white and shadow thing was not actually going to be their elements. I thought it was maybe a title, and I remember I was guessing, and I was like, what could be useful while not being, well, like being different, but not being directly onto like their, not being directly onto like their titles, but something could fit. I remember it was like Sting as gold and Rogue as sound. I remember that in my head so clearly. I was like, this could be, you know, this is my alternative take if they're not just white and shadow. Let me see. People hype up Shigaraki but hate on Acnologia. People box never fails to Macy. I don't know anybody that really hates on Acnologia. The only people I know that like didn't like Acnologia was more on like the fact his fight was short. I mean, but they added to it in the anime and they gave him a really good backstory. Personally, I think he's got one of the better backstories in the whole series, especially in the fact that it does a really good job mirroring Natsu's whole setup, like him and Igneel versus the original Acnologia and the Doctor who later became Acnologia. You know? Yeah, unless his dragon was a small white gecko. Yeah, I wasn't too sure on that. Kami got killed characters too many times, especially at the beginning. That I didn't... that series is like right in the line where I didn't mind when it came to important characters. But like when they killed off just, you know, random characters, like it was very easy for me not to care nearly as much. But I think that Akame Got Killed did actually a pretty good job at letting you like the characters and get used to them, and then also made their deaths more of like a spectacle. Like not everything has to be like some giant end of arc freaking heroic death, but I think anytime you kill a character, like especially like an important character, or at least one that's like directly in the like directly front in the like the focus of the series, that you have to at least give him enough attention and hype to kind of warrant it. Like look at what's the guy's name, Yaga or whatever, recently in JJK. Like who cared? Like I legitimately I got that chapter and I was like, do I actually I don't care. It was unfortunate. It sucks thinking about like when a character dies and you're just like, so. Personally, I would like to. I would really enjoy it if I was more hyped on it. Like, it made me wish that when it came to My Hero, I was into it enough to like keep up with Vigilantes for Midnight. I wish I did that, but at the same time, I don't know if there would have been enough for me to really care about her. So did you know that Brittany Karbowski, voice of young Natsu, is in the Clannad dub? I have no idea. I haven't watched Clannad. I'm rolling the die on the anime. I just start nowadays. I remember like the apparently like Fairy Tail's anime got like number 5 and like most profiting anime within the last year. So I mean that's a potential, you know, fingers crossed for 100 Years Quest, especially if they can give it a good anime studio. What if Wendy gets Fire Wind power up? If Wendy was gonna get a second element, I'd want it to be like Poison, or I'm trying to think, Poison, or who else would be cool with a Lacrima? I mean, like, Stings would be cool, but I really just think it with Cobras would be cooler. Just because we don't have anything with Cobras, and it would give a reason to make Cobra relevant again, to, like, maybe just have him around so Wendy could eat his Lacrima, or at least part of his element and gain, like, a dual type. I don't think she could become a dual fire, or like a Fire Wind, or I guess, you know, Fire Sky in reality, because Natsu doesn't have a Lacrima. Every single person that's obtained a dual type has got it through consuming, or at least, like in Teacher Rogue's case, like he just says he took the power, you know, took the power from Rogue and whatnot, but like taking it from somebody who has a Lacrima, and the Lacrima we know are transferable because Ivan wanted to get the one from Laxus to sell. So obviously, like, if you can take it out of the body and give it to somebody else, and, you know, it would make no sense if you remove it and it has no, it can't just be put to somebody else. It'd be like, well, then why are you selling it if it's broken or some shit? Draken and Shura are good foils too, based on use of friendship, because Draken thought it was worthless, while Shura uses it as manipulation tactic. I don't think he was trying to manipulate Shiki. I think he was just, he likes Shiki. And he thinks, and like, to him, anybody that he likes is valuable. Like, he sees value in them, and anybody that he sees value in, he would keep around. Kind of like with his secretary. It's very clear that he likes her in some way. he has some value in her. Who knows to what extent and why. But I don't think he was just saying that manipulate Shiki. Because I think he would have needed to know Shiki's whole wanting to be friends with people thing beforehand versus, like, just kind of, like, declaring it and trying to talk to him. That's why I think when he went to the Eden Zero, it was the fact that he's upset. He was just rejected, essentially. He was just denied something he was trying to do, and because of that, you know, he's like, well, I gotta get even now. You don't like slice of life? I don't like most slice of life. I can like a slice of life, but the thing about slice of life always to me is just like, where is this going? Like, what am I really watching this for? Because I really do like a lot of battle shonens, but one of the things I really like about them is like how crazy their plots can get, and like when you have these absurd like world-ending calamities or stuff like that, that it really just sets up just some general hype, and it sets up like a level of something to wait for. Like you're building up anticipation for it. Where it's like a slice of life, it's like just a little bit more episodic. Sometimes, you know, you'll have like a small mini arc with like plot into it. But I'm just not a fan of, you know, spending the time watching characters just kind of hang out. I don't mind slice of life chapters and stuff, but like I don't really read anything for slice of life. You know, it's got to be arcane in some way. It'd be really weird if he wasn't. The Mashal chapter was real hype. I was really interested in reading that last chapter because like it showed the whole part with like the clock and everyone standing still, and it's like, okay, I'm trying to figure out like if it was kind of pseudo time stop or it was legit time stop. And then like we saw the clock, and I was like, okay, like it would be pointless to show the clock, you know, emphasize on this clock if it wasn't like legit time stop. And then, you know, I'm just trying to look at it and be like, all right, is it gonna get confirmed? Then it's just outright confirmed. My only question is like, how is Wahlberg able to keep moving with time stop? Is it going to be like a power level thing? Is like maybe this dude, he can't stop people to a certain degree, or maybe the dude's got a magic tool, or maybe it has to do with the whole god summoning people. I don't know. Shiki 1 week training BS on 15 years of shirt. Okay, first off, one, it was 35 days because it was 8 times more, and two, Shiki's had his ether gear for years. The only thing that he got was, like, he got a good teacher, and he got a mild cheat way of, like, adding extra time in order to progress to that. It's really fun to see Goliath fall to David. Oh, is that Mission Yozakura? I'm trying to think, because David... David and Goliath? I was thinking Goliath the dog from Mission Yozakura. I was like, who's David? Maybe the scariest member of the Galactica that Eraser referred to will be a character that's so strong they won't need a crew to fly solo. I think it'll be somebody that is just maybe, like, really aggressive. Like, when it comes to the Galactica, they all have to have a reason why they're kind of presented in that role and that title. With Elsie, she just seems to be, like, very hard to deal with, powerful, she's got a strong crew. Draken Joe's got a lot of connections, like, outside of just, like, outright strength, at least, you know, I'm sure all of them are strong. Poseidon Darrow has future sight abilities, you know, some form of like fate deciphering kind of thing, or like future sight. But he's also got all these forces and an entire empire backing him, which is kind of weird when you think about it. He's like a big space criminal, but he's also an emperor. It'd just be like, how do you really kind of label him like that? I mean, I guess it'd be like having some crazy dictator in real life, some like crazy dictator bad guy, but he also is like in charge of a country. My guess is that somebody that's maybe like just so, like they got their spot from just being like so aggressive and maybe like ruthless and uncontrollable. It's just like, you don't want to run into that guy. Rax and Relax is a good name. Thank you. I can't remember who said it. That wasn't something I came up with. I'm pretty sure somebody said it in a stream or said it to me on Twitter. I don't remember. But I was like, that's a pretty good name. I'm going to use that. Dante should join the Black Bulls if he stays alive. That's not going to happen. Dante has no value. Why do you waste time trying to redeem him? I mean, trying to redeem Dante would be like trying to redeem Shura. That's like the same area. That's why when people try and like kind of like, oh, you know, as if there's some way to kind of bring over Shura, I'm just like, why? It's the same thing. It'd be like trying to redeem Dante. It'd be like, why? Why would you want to do that? They're both so far gone. It doesn't really seem possible to me. Anyway, let me get to some more of the comments. I wonder how strong Fire Wind Wendy would be in her prime. That'd just be powerful fire, though, wouldn't it? It'd just be like big gusts of wind. Rax, I'm quitting 100 Years Quest if Gray doesn't get a power-up in, like, the next 10 chapters. Gray should get something. The thing is, it's very obvious the first fight's getting focused is Lucy versus Mimi, and then after Lucy versus Mimi is going to be Gray versus Akune. I did call this a little bit, because I was really hoping it was going to be like a content sandwich. It was going to be starting out with the Suzaku and Selene hype, and then we get over to the, the rematches, and then we probably end with, like, the follow-up on Selene versus Suzaku. I called that, and I was very happy about that, because that was, to me, the best way to kind of do these fights, and it looks like Mishima is doing that. And I'm like, man, Suzaku he's got to run. He has to flee. He cannot fight Selene. It's very obvious he cannot fight Selene. Selene passively is messing with the moon to the point, like, people looked into it, and I guess it's like she made the moon bigger than Earth. And on top of that, she's messing, like, with Earthland. Like, Earthland seems like I have, like, tides rising up and, like, the oceans and the sky getting messed with. And that's an entirely different dimension. Like, her power is influencing another dimension. Like, she's crazy. Like, Mishima is doing so much with her right now, and I'm so happy with it. Like, I've mentioned, like I said, Selene is like if Mishima asked me to make a character. Like, Selene hits, like, every single checkbox that I would have asked for in, like, a big hype, badass dragon chick. Like, it's crazy. Like, I mentioned, like, the only other way that, like, a character I would have thought of, like, as, like, a hype would be, like, if it was male, I would have picked, like, some form of radioactive dragon slayer or something. Something kind of crazy. Just make Godzilla in there. But with a female, like, I would just essentially want Selene. Like, Selene is, like, everything that I would have requested. And on top of that, every time she's on panel, she's doing something. It's either Selene's character that's getting kind of, like, fleshed out. You know, we're seeing different sides to her. We're getting crazy power level things. We're getting more lore stuff. Selene is just... She's like my gold standard for the series. Like, gold standard? I don't know. Gold star, rather. When did Natsu surpass current Leopold, Tanner Island? I mean, he would have already been above Leopold before that. Like, probably around that. Like, I think just kind of the safe spot. As I'm like, he really didn't get much for upgrade. Like, there were almost no upgrades for anybody outside of Urza and Gajil in Edelus, because, like, Natsu didn't really fight anybody big. I mean, actually, Lucy got somewhat of an upgrade. Like, she definitely did, like, some good stuff on her own, like her fight with Byron. But Natsu really didn't. I don't think anything Natsu did in Edelus was, like, a new move for Natsu. Whereas, like, at least on Sirius Island, we saw, like, he can use Crimson Exploding Flame Blade by himself. Well, he could use it before, but he could use it at any point in time. It wasn't like a power-up, kind of like, emotions running kind of thing. He can just use it. You know, obviously, like, some of his feats in that one went really well. I'd say Sirius Island. That's probably the safest one to go with. Man, it was so weird. You know, legitimately just something to mention. It was so weird. It's like, when I talk to people that are so unaware of stuff in Fairy Tail, it's weird to me. Like, two people, J Cloud, I was talking to him, and he didn't even know Slayers can eat their elements, and it was so strange he wasn't aware of that, because that's something you would have, like, even if you got to episode 1 or chapter 1, you would have known that. So, like, either he just watched it a long time ago, or he hasn't really touched it. I think he said he was going to try it at some point. And then Bud wasn't aware that, like, you just can learn magic in Fairy Tail. Like, you're not limited to one magic. You're not born with the magic. You have the raw magic. Some people are kind of have, like, an innate magic of their own. And then there's just people who can just learn tons of magic. I look at, like, August. Let's see what else is going on. Technically, sure hasn't killed more people in Shigaraki. He hasn't killed more, but, like, he has way more of a, like, people are dispensable kind of mindset. Both 100 Years Quest and Boruto's chapters out tomorrow. Man, I'm gonna be really upset if I gotta wait another day for a 100 Years Quest chapter. Like, I'm not gonna be, like, enraged, but man, I'm gonna have to wait until tomorrow. I got my thumbnail prepped up already. I picked a panel that didn't have any dialogue in it, so I already got to pick it out, and I didn't have to wait for it. I just wanted to read the chapter and then chat about it. But if I gotta wait till tomorrow, it's not a big deal. But man, I obviously don't want to wait. I'm just an impatient guy. I did see that the Weekly Sorcerer website is down, so I mean, like, I won't hold it against them if they gotta wait, or if they're not gonna get out till tomorrow. But obviously, I would rather read it today. But that's just because, like I said, I'm impatient. All the stuff in Boruto. I'm hating on Boruto right now. Shinra gonna be planetary. We'll see how things go with that. Like, there's some. I read the new chapter because it gets released at the same time, and I decided to read the Japanese one this morning instead of waiting for the fan translation. Dude, this is gonna be sick. I'm looking forward to this fight. It's funny because, like, after this, I'm still gonna read. I'm still reading it, but it's like I'm not as hyped for, like, all this stuff with Shinra. Like, I just want to see this battle with Arthur. Well, they sure said that those bots would die in the next day. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're getting scrapped. Who would win between Shura and Tomura? I mean, Shura would be telling him. He'd just immediately grab him with gravity and then just kind of, like, throw him in the air or smash him in the ground. Who's his mom? Also, thanks for spoiling at Red Raid Master. Wait, SMR. I actually don't know what's S. I don't know what SMR is. SRM, rather. Which is bigger, Cap? They're saying Larcade would be a secret weapon, and exactly what Orc saying it sure was stronger than Ziggy. I mean, the thing is, like, he just said that he was a secret weapon against Acnologia. He didn't say that he could defeat Acnologia. But I mean, like, with someone saying sure is stronger than Ziggy, I mean, maybe, like, that Ziggy at the time? I mean, but we haven't seen, like, an actual Ziggy in his prime. So probably that. Because the thing about Larcade being a secret weapon against Acnologia, it's like, sure, I could kind of understand that, but obviously, like, it's not going to work. A secret weapon is just a secret weapon. It's not going to be like that he's going to win. Acnologia shouldn't have went down in one hit. The thing is, he was weakened drastically by motion sickness. You have to understand that. And I would have liked the fight to be longer, but the way that Acnologia was defeated, I was still fine with, because one, it made sense with, like, the way that the power is established and has been working, and two, it didn't defile his position, because they had to drastically cripple him to beat him, so they didn't actually overpower him, and that made it so, like, you could have the five dragon gods, because Natsu and crew weren't actually Natsu wasn't actually Acnologia level. They just took out a very nerfed and weakened Acnologia. Because otherwise, like, say, like, he got some power up, he got some, like, new form, like, full dragon mode, and defeated him, then it's like, well, then how would any of the dragon gods be a threat? I liked what Mishima did with it, because it preserved a lot of kind of ground to get covered in the story. I thought that was still really good. It was just unfortunately shorter than I would have liked. It actually reminds me a lot of when Ichigo fought Aizen at the end of, like, the fake Kura Town arc and, like, the side and everything, because it was much shorter than you would have expected the fight to be. But, it wasn't the same kind of setup. They didn't have to drastically cripple him. It was more of just, like, he had a temporary power up and everything, so it still preserves somewhat the power gap. Since Sting eats light, holy stuff, and light magic would also color white. Could Rogue eat black colored things? No. Rogue's is specifically shadows. Sting's is white, like, on quotes, but it is also holy and light. But he has shown, like, things that are just white he can consume. If Rogue was, like, the black dragon, that'd be one thing, but he's not. He's specifically a shadow dragon. I could see him eating, like, darkness, like, maybe dark-based abilities, because that just makes sense, really, when you think about, like, shadows and dark. Like, they're pretty much the same thing. Sometimes in some series they have different aspects to abilities and somewhat you get with it, but they're relatively the same thing. What else is there? Larkin affected Zareth, Irene, Pleasure Spell, and End Series Natsu sleep, so he's clearly is in their tier of power. Well, that's just what his hacks did, because we know how his hacks worked. It's not like automatically they were at that level. It just meant like a hacks that can affect them. Your city wanted more hateable villains than Eden Zero, so how do you think he's doing with Shura and the other villains? I don't know. I don't think Shura is more hateable than somebody like Brain. Like, they added on to Brain. Legitimately, when they added on to Brain in the anime and made it so, like, he was partly responsible for what happened with, like, and Ultier, like, that, like, cemented him as one of my most hated Mishima villains. I don't think anybody so far, at least, I would have more hated than him. Like, the closest one is probably Mueller. I think Mueller, like, is more of a hated character than Shura. I was like, Shura is, like, a bad guy, but I don't hate him. He hasn't done anything to make me hate him yet. And, like, Draken Joe, I like Draken Joe, so... Mueller's, like, actually somebody I hated. Brain, though, I did hate. Zero I did like, though, luckily. Favorite panel from Chapter 143, Eden Zero. Mine was Shura shutting down the... I mean, I just liked... my favorite was when Shiki just slapped frickin' Shura's hand. He's like, nope, no thank you. Who in Fairy Tail will surpass Acnologia? Potentially Ignia. If there is a secret 7th Dragon God, like I think there's gonna be 7. I think Natsu is gonna be one of the remaining 2, and I think there's gonna be a secret boss that gets revealed. Either Eleftheria or another Dragon God. And I think if that's the case, that character will surpass Acnologia otherwise. And then there's obviously Ank'Saram. Ank'Saram is just, he's Ank'Saram, he's a god if he ever shows up. We ever see this dude step out. Can win for Lucy to kick someone's ass. I am looking forward to her beating Mimi. The thing though I'm very curious about, if they defeat Mimi and Hakune here, what is Selene exactly going to do? Like, what's going to be the status with Selene's crew? Is she going to just create more or make more or pick more people to become the Moonlit Beauty Gods? Like, that's one of the up-and-coming things I am very excited for. Because, like, this arc is only... I mean, this was chapter 82. I mean, we're only really in it, like, 14, 15 chapters? Like, depending on where you wanted to count, like, the Idolist stuff. But I think it's going to be way longer. Like, it's clear that Mishima is putting Selene in a much more, like, a higher level of value to the story and more time in her character than, like, what Mercephobia and Alderaan got. So, with Selene, I expect her to be around a lot longer. I mean, we're only really just getting started. Like, just seeing her in this chapter, this is the first time we're really seeing her start to put in some effort. And she's now completely overpowering Suzaku, and he stands no chance. You think we'll start seeing some of Shura's named attacks? Actually, now that you mention it, I haven't seen any of his named attacks, so I'm hoping we see some soon. I didn't even think of that. That's your Bloodwork, Grimmjow versus Martgear. I'm going to go Martgear. The unfortunate thing about Grimmjow is he didn't really get anything in Thousand Year Blood War. From, he didn't really get any upgrades or anything really that new. He kind of just showed up in one of the ends of the fights and helped Kisuke. And he didn't get any hacks. Like, he didn't get anything additional even to his moveset. So the second Momentum Work comes out, GG. That's a really unfortunate when I think about it. It's like, it's something I was thinking about the other day is, in Alvarez, Gildart's got, he got scaled higher. Because obviously, when you look at, Blue Note, and then you saw where that level of Gildart's was at the time, power level wise. And then we saw him going against August and stuff. Obviously he's much more powerful. You put him in higher Spriggan categories. But he didn't get anything really that new outside of growth and in power level stuff. And obviously a sick new design. But he had some new attacks, but there wasn't anything really additional to Gildart's moveset. And it's damn, it's unfortunate. It's kind of where Gray is now. Gray hasn't gotten anything really new in a long time. And hopefully he's going to get some soon, but it's just one of those things when you have, a character like that is going to be, only get spotlight every once in every blue moon, and then, they don't really get anything, especially Grimmjow after waiting for years, and he sadly didn't get anything. When did Ruby jump the shark for you? I'm probably somewhere around volume 7. When Jump the Shark just did start it kind of died down in quality. I mean, after volume 3 it kind of got shaky, but volume 4 I assumed wasn't going to be as good as Volume 3, because, like, that Volume 3 was, like, it was the climax of 3 arcs of build-up, and then, like, Volume 6 was just kind of, like, not nearly as good as Volume 3, and then Volume 7 really annoyed me. Volume 5 was a complete bore. I remember when, like, Volume 5 ended, and I was like, this was unfortunate. And it was sucks, because like, trying to think back at those episodes, I think Volume 5 is, Volume 5, I believe, is when they beat Adam. It might have been, right? I'm trying to remember. But, like, I remember, like, Volume 5 started out pretty good. Or it was Volume 6. I can't remember. I remember both, like, one of those started out really strong and then ended, and I was not happy. Like, I did reviews for those ones, and I just was not pleased with what was going on. It was really bothering me. And the series just kind of died off. Like, I haven't watched Volume 8. I like, maybe when it ends, I'll probably finish it. But it sucks when a series is, like, essentially, like, there's no hype for it anymore. And, like, I'm not going to force myself to try and follow it. And I'm definitely not going to pay to watch it if I'm not interested. It's kind of like what Disney did to Star Wars for me. Like, they just completely killed off my hype for Star Wars with that terrible trilogy. Sucks. I know sure is a piece of shit, but I'm curious to see what the rest of his backstory and see why if he'll get any sympathy. I don't think so. I don't think I'll give him any sympathy. I mean, like, he's just indiscriminately killing people, and like the one dude who was trying really hard to apologize and he just killed him anyway. It's just like, man, like, I don't know if I can fuck with this guy. Like, from a standpoint of, like, redemption, I like him as a bad guy. Rex, what if there was another tournament arc in 100 Years Quest this time with Diablos? If there's another tournament, it's going to be with Ignia. Like, when it comes to the Dragon Gods, so far with the Dragon Gods, they all had their own... They had, like, their own following. Because we know that, like, the reason they're referred to as gods is they all have, like, people that, view them as godlike. So, with Ignia, I'm assuming he's going to have his own city of some kind, his own followers. And I just imagine, like, some form of Coliseum. If there is a tournament and Diablos members are involved as, like, they're, like, an opposing team, that'd be really cool. I think that would be super hyped if it happens. Clannad Illusionary World's just a huge wink to the after the story. I don't know anything about Clannad, man. Just come in and say, hello, what's up, Jared Punch? Do you sympathize with the kid, Drac and Joe, and you saw his backstory and situation or no? I mean, there's a lot about Drac and Joe's backstory that we don't know about. Like, we have no idea, like, how he went from where he was, like, as a little kid to where he got to, to what we know as the character, as the bad guy. Drac and Joe, though, like, I don't really think I could give him sympathy. I mean, like, he was clearly doing a lot of bad shit just for, living longer. And with him, I don't understand, like, from his perspective. I would like to go talk to him, be like, hey, man, I know exactly what you can do. Build a space prison, only drain life from, like, really bad people, and no one's gonna come after you. No one's gonna care. It's like my whole idea, like, if I was in the Tokyo Ghoul world, I would just eat, like, criminals and stuff. Because then no one's gonna, like, freak out over that. It's like, no, I only eat bad people. Then I'd be reduced in the criminal amount, and I'd be good. What else is there? I'm trying to... I'm gonna catch up. I know I'm a chunk behind, but I'm catching up. I don't know anything about Clannad, so I'm gonna skim some of these. I guess Nero is like a Yonko. He's a criminal, but a massive force is back in, like Big Mom Kaido. Yeah, I guess. I think the series will eventually... Wait, what? Justapose? Wait, what? An OSI against... Eden Zero Crew is a great threat and fully defeat them in the future. They're going to probably have to. Rackton Davos will be there with the Akatsuki, Espada, Chichibukai in terms of a better group. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I've liked them so far, but it's really going to depend. The thing is, like, they're not a bad guy group. We already know that. Like, they just are against Fairy Tail because of a misunderstanding. So I don't really think so. I was just going to respond with, like, the quality of the group. I think they're pretty good so far. I don't know if they'll go down in that same kind of, like, grouping area. I would put more of, like, the Spriggan in there, or even, like, the 9 Demon Gates, but Tartarus in there or something. How do you redeem someone who deems evil as humanity's true form? Good luck. Yeah. I can't wait to see Natsu get the Great Dragon Overlord power up and then 100 Years Quest. Yeah, man, his end 100 Years Quest, like, whatever he gets is going to be insane. You know it for sure. especially knowing that eventually he's going to 1v1 Ignia. I think Dabi is worse than Shigaraki because at least Shigaraki cares about his allies and Dabi doesn't. And I mean, yeah, somewhat. I mean, at that point, it just depends on your perspective and which one you really see as the problem. YouTube not showing notifications. YouTube does that all the time. YouTube's been a little ass lately. You're free to do a fanfiction because Dante and the Black Bulls. I was gonna say, like, I'm not reading that. That's not a fanfiction. Yeah, hey, a dude who's, like, probably... I mean, like, we don't know how fully old Dante is, but, like, he looked at the same age around when they overthrew this, the king and queen of the Spade Kingdom. So they, 15, 16, 17 years plus after, like, how old they are now. They're, like, Dante's probably, like, 40 plus. He's gonna join the Black Bulls. He's gonna be a new recruit. Hey guys, this is my first week in the Magic Knights. You know how weird it would be to, like, hey, an enemy king wanted us to join our military, and just be like, why? Do you think they'll have to do another Dragon Assemble fight in order to take down Selene if they did, like, with Technologia? It's going to have to be both groups. It's going to have to be the main cast. It's going to have to be Diablos. They're probably going to have to give Irene a body. And I think they're going to have to pull in other characters like this Laxus, Jalal, and people like that. Maybe Sting and Rogue. I think there's going to have to be way more characters involved really to defeat Selene after this chapter. Like, especially when we saw, like, how powerful Suzaku was, and then we see, like, Selene starting to fight somewhat seriously, just steamrolls the hell out of him. It just becomes, it really just shows the gap that she has versus them, and it's just like, yeah, they need to, they're gonna need to all work as, like, a large unit if they're gonna, if they even hope to take her down. Who's better sniper, the female from Nagant or Fi from Easer? I mean, Fi was like a sniper from miles away. But, I think, isn't he like, wasn't it like 6 miles or something? I'm going to pull up the chapter real quick. 'Cause I remember it being really far. Like, farther than hers. I mean, I know she's got, like, she has, like, curving bullets and stuff, but, like, when you have like almost a double distance, assuming that was correct. I'm pulling up the chapter. I think it was in the 70s, something like that. Let me see. I'm pulling somewhere around that. I'm trying to remember when those fights were. Yeah, I'm right where the Element 4 come out, so it'd be right after the fight with Laguna. So I think like mid to upper 70s is where it is. I'm gonna find this real quick, and then I'll get back to the chat. Don't comment too much. I mean, just kidding. Comment as much as you want. Just don't spam. But I'm going to find this. I'm going to find this real quick. Because I'm very curious as to the distance that was given. Because it is I mean, if it's double distance, I mean, that's such a huge factor. Alright, I found the chapter, so I'm trying to figure out where it is. Yeah, 7 kilometers. So it's more than double. Like, Pino outright says double. Like, it says 7 kilometers, so double the range. So I'm going to go with 5. I mean, that, like, double the range as a sniper is ridiculous. I mean, and plus he's got, like, way more advanced technology on top of that. That was such a hype part. That was probably one of my favorite moments for Shiki, to be perfectly honest. Like, not even having, like, all the crazy power level stuff. Him catching a sniper round and throwing it back was really cool. Let me see. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 5 on that one. Was Percival's grandpa name revealed this chapter? It was like, yeah, Varghese or whatever. I read that and I couldn't remember if it was stated at some point. I wonder if he's ever mentioned in original 7 Deadly Sins. Overdrive Shiki versus Boris Shiki. Oh, I'm gonna go with the Boruto one. Like, that one, he just absorbs all his power. What is this madness? What's up, Gravity Dragon? How are you doing? Currently pulled early tenure art. Natsu spread the word. I mean, Natsu at the time wasn't that powerful. But I mean, like, in terms of, like, some of their attacks, sure. Natsu was, like, able to move under enhanced gravity, though. It took him some effort, but he still got back up. Like, so he's got more physical strength than, like, what someone like Leopold or a lot of Black Clover could do. Elsie versus Pre-Dimension / Yami. I'll go Elsie, because she also has... Because that version has flight on top of that. And she can just spam stuff like Grand Chariot. Watch Kane Flurry make Licorice user a black guy. Why would it be a black guy? For, like, black licorice? That'd be kind of cool, though, to be perfectly honest. I wonder what a licorice would be like. So maybe like some form of like it'd either have to be a staff user or like a whip person or like you know how what's his name, muscular or just like anybody on that general kind of usage where they have like the muscle fibers or just when you see how they rap. What if it's like that but with licorice? That'd be really cool actually. I'd be absolutely hyped for that character. Thoughts on the final Attack on Titan chapter? I mean, it just goes to further prove what I was saying. It's like war is endless. The thing about Eren, it's like, what was he gonna end? Like, war is not something you can end. It's gonna keep going. It's gonna eventually always, it's just gonna continue. You can hinder it, but you can't stop it. It's one of those aspects of like humanity and people that is going to repeat over and over and over. Oh, it looks like the chapter is out, so I'll keep going and then I'll get to the chapter at some point. Because I've only been going for like an hour. I want to go for a little bit longer than this. Then I'll get to the chapter, and then after that, I will, I'll upload it, and then we'll chat. I'll post it in the chat real quick. I'll post it in the stream chat, so other people, if you guys want to go read it. The only thing I'm wondering specifically about it, because, like, for the most part, I assume the chapter, like, I can kind of, like, gauge what's going on. But it's the stuff with merphobia. Let's just read it actually live and kind of talk about it. Let me see. So yeah, they're in Ermina and they're kind of doing their thing, and like everything's just going insane. Like the dude's just like the great water god should be able to use power. Yeah, he's talking about the storm, but it's not merphobia. Like merphobia even mentions like it's Selene. Oh man. So what is he saying? What is he hyping up Selene? I'll get back to the comments in a second. I won't read the whole chapter while ignoring it. Let me get through just merphobia's dialogue, and then I'll get back to the chat. And then when I get caught up with the chat, I'll get to the chapter. Let me see. Because I really want to know what he had to say. Yeah, so, like, straight confirmed her power is, like, affecting another world. And it's crazy because it's not just a, like... It's not like affecting a nearby planet. It's affecting across time space. It's a full different universe, another dimension. Oh, merphobia seems to confirm that he didn't lose all his power. I'm very curious as to like how exactly his power was, quote unquote, lost. Oh, Alderaan didn't awaken completely. Oh, so he wasn't at his full power. That's interesting, or his original power. That's actually pretty interesting. I want to know exactly about that, though. That's cool to know, because that just kind of, like, adds up a little extra with Alderaan. The thing about Alderaan is we know that he also, like, the way he mechanically worked, Oh, Kanmano, thank you for the $20 super chat, my guy. Well, you came in right after I finished reading what merphobia was saying. So I'll get back to the chat, and I'll start with your super chat. Hey Rax, what does the guild have against someone who leaves people for dead? For example, my MC is someone who just doesn't like people dying, but believes he doesn't have a moral obligation to go around and out of his way to help people. I mean, the thing about it is like the guild. Oh wait, I gotta wait for the audio to play. So the thing is like the guild, they're not going around just trying to find people to save. They're going to do it if they're adjacent to them, or if at least adjacent to, like, whatever it is they're doing. Like, say they come across somebody in need of help, or they come to a village or a town that is under distress or something, and they could use their help or something like that. But, like, outside of somebody that, like, I think it'd be like real life. Like, right now, something bad has happened to somebody somewhere. I can't do anything about it, but, if I walk across a guy who just got stabbed, I'm gonna call an ambulance for him. Whereas, like, I'm not gonna like try and free roam the streets to try and locate people to help. It's just like, that's not what I do, kind of thing. I mean, they would definitely. I think it's more like that. It's just like you're gonna help people that you can, that you're aware of, but it's not like you can save everybody, and it's not like you can do everything for everyone. But yeah, thank you for the $20 super chat, man. Let me get to one of these comments. I'm guessing not Shinra from Fire Force. What do you mean? Oh wait, Shinra. Wait, what are people talking about Shinra for? Did I miss something? Uranus summon Wahlberg versus Chronos summon Father is gonna be so good. I really want to see like what the whole sky power is gonna do. Because obviously, with Chronos you have temporal abilities, but what's the sky power gonna really set up? Because it's obviously like they have to be at least around equal. Like whether Wahlberg is stronger or whether like this Mash Dad is stronger, whatever it is, I don't think whichever one is more powerful is going to be more powerful by a lot. Definitely really hyped though. Oh, who's Shinra? Shinra, the main character from Fire Force. I remember that like this is chat is a little bit behind. Well, I'm behind on the chat rather, so it was probably a little bit further back when I was talking about Shinra. Suzaku versus Kaido, dude. Suzaku would clap Kaido so easy. He would cut him down so fast. He would just blitz him and slice him in half. Rack's 2 days have probably passed since Eraser showed up at the fight since Shura's army, since Shura said these bots would get destroyed the next day. I don't think so. I don't think it's like they've been waiting for 2 days after Eraser showed up to attack. I don't know. That'd be really weird. Let's see. Do you think Hostile surpass Yami? I gotta skip over some of freaking Nev's weird comments. I think Hostile surpass Yami. I mean, yeah, eventually, 100%. Or do you mean in this arc? Potentially, because obviously, like he's going through a high level of increase right now, and we know his union isn't complete. Aizen versus Selene. Selene's gonna clap the fuck out of him. Like I said, she's passively when she's starting just to fight somewhat seriously. She's not even all out. She's somewhat fighting seriously. She's planet level. I want. Oh God, you want Wendy to beat somebody? I'm okay with that. I mean, she's definitely got to beat somebody. Ruby jumped the shark after Volume 6 and then Volume 7. I wasn't a fan of Volume 6. Like there was a lot of stuff in there that really bothered me. I remember it was. I think it was Volume 5 the one where you had Raven fight Cinder. I remember that fight. I was so annoyed. I'm like, first off, why are you using a big sword? You specialize in archery. Use a bow. Why are you playing to this chick's advantage of using swords? I don't know. Raven, I never liked Raven's character either. So like it was like Cinder, who they completely reversed every bit that they did on her character. I'm guessing so they can just get Jessica Negri in studio to talk. I don't know, but yeah, it just bothers me thinking back about it. And I never liked Raven, so like that fight, I just didn't care. And they were doing stuff that's stupid. I don't know. Like since the unfortunate passing of Monty, like Ruby has just been on a steady downhill. Adam was defeated in Volume 5, but he didn't die. Is he not dead? I'll be glad on that, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm remembering it back to Ruby. I was annoyed that they beat him, because, like, neither of them really did anything to get stronger. Like, Yang did mild skirmishing against her dad. Blake didn't do anything but protest. How are they able to defeat Adam? Adam no-diffed them. And on top of that, there wasn't anything like that weakened Adam, or there anything that kind of hindered him, or like he like if he got a danger, like a really bad wound during like the fight, maybe like the freaking mech or the really big Grim like didn't attack and it hit him and it wounded him, that'd be one thing. But it's like him losing to them really bothered me, because like he didn't just beat them, he no-diffed them. He'd no-diff the hell out of them. If it was like the whole Team Ruby, okay, like they have a chance. 4 people instead, they have all their teamwork and all their combinations. I could have seen that to a degree, but like, man, they really shafted that dude. It sucked because like they got rid of Torchwick and they got rid of Adam. They got rid of 2 of the better villains in the series. Like it's good that Salem was still cool, but if you just kind of like pick out like 2 of your better characters and you kill them off in some of the lamest ways, or maybe not kill them off, but like kind of just pretty much kill them off. Because I think Torchwick is dead, which his death was stupider. Death by random fodder Grim with no sign that his aura was depleted. Really bothered me back then. Like, and that was in Volume 3, which was like, you know, still before unfortunate passing. But at the same time, I was just like, man, they really shafted him. Like, I feel like what happened to him was not actually a death, but after Monty died, they just decided to leave him. I don't know. At least that's what I believe. Oh, what's up, Blues Jr.? How you doing, man? Just like the Draken arc, the shining stars are subdued while everyone else is off the ship. Aren't the other people on the ship? Or it's like, actually, you know what? I might have missed that. If the mirrors were in the base, I definitely did not. Like, if that's the case, now that I think about it, I didn't notice that at all. I thought they were still on the ship, if so. But I mean, I still would make sense of why they're all battle ready, and yeah. I might have to, I might have to reread that part of the chapter because if so, I definitely missed that somehow. Suzaku versus Thousand Year Blood War Ichigo. I'm still gonna go Suzaku. I think he should be faster. He should have way more raw potency, especially because like Ichigo is powerful, but like Ichigo and him both like Suzaku. Everything we've seen is him in base. From what we've seen, Ichigo, especially in base, like Suzaku could clap beforehand, and unfortunately, Ichigo didn't get really anything similar to what I said about Guild Arts. Ichigo really didn't get anything new in the 1,000 Year Blood War. Like the only thing he really got to add to his moveset was the whole Grand Rei Sero Getsuga Tensho. That's it. That's the only thing he really got. I mean, because like what Getsuga Jujisho, like who cares about that? It's just 2 Getsugas. It's nothing special whatsoever. Whereas like the Grand Rei Sero is kind of like an upgraded Getsuga. It's something with like an extra level of power onto it, and essentially like fusing 2 attacks instead of literally just I'm using an attack twice. Draken Joe versus entire Eden Zero crew, minus people who joined the after Bella Goer. Like actual like full power Draken Joe. I think he still claps, especially like because he can just turn people into stone or like blow them up. Therion would nuke a universe. Oh no! So the whole way that Etherion worked is they're gonna use Etherion or Endless was only something that could be defeated by Etherion. Etherion was a threat to the time stream, but it wasn't like Etherion goes off, time just implodes. They needed Etherion to defeat Endless. Endless was going to become essentially a time nuke, similar to like what Acnology was going to do with the whole space between time, and he's eventually going to break past the limitations of time space. But Etherion isn't the same thing as like that whole setup. Etherion is itself like a time-space kind of creation power. More of like a creation power that's just like raw energy, I think is a better way to say it. Because like it doesn't have the same... It's not like as temporally sound, I'd say. The Eden Zero one will nuke a planet? I mean, potentially. We don't really know what it'll do. I'm kind of hoping it's like a... I'm hoping there's something more kind of like fancy to it, since it's from like a spaceship weapon rather than, you know, a giant planetary or planet satellite. Like you said, it's you know, can target anything. When I'm the wording on it that I was kind of going with made it sound a little different, but you know what I mean. A big orbital satellite, essentially, of magic. Do you think someone will die? At this Eden Zero arc? From the main cast? I don't think so. Maybe Laguna. Because Laguna is a little sus. I'm still not sure about Laguna. Finding Festival Laxus versus EMS Licked? Oh, I'm gonna go Licked, man. 100%. That version of Licked, like, Laxus wasn't that crazy at the time. Laxus was, like, low Wizard Saint level at the time. I wouldn't put Licked below that. I don't believe that at all. Especially Fighting Festival. Come on. Which is going to be voiced by Charmy. Yeah, someone already mentioned that. Okay, I'm at the super chat. I personally wish that Justice was voiced by someone else. I don't mind. Who cares? I want Dio to voice Draken. That'd be cool. Yeah, Suzaku would absolutely body the living shit out of Kaido. Dante versus Ziggy. I'd go with Dante for now, just because he's got a bigger moveset, and he's got his Singularity. And Singularity is one of those, like, a mini black hole is one of those abilities that's just, it's good at almost any opportunity to use it. And unlike Blue Notes, Dante can throw his, and he can make his well, I don't know if he can make his faster. I would guess that he can recover his faster, I think is a better way to say it. Like, after he uses it, he can make another way faster. Because we don't know if Blue Note, like, what the time it would take him, really, if, like, he wasn't immediately dispensed by Guild Arts if he wanted to make another black hole. He might have just been done at that point. Because Dante's also seemed way more casual as well. Whereas that was... I mean, it does both seem like, at least from what we've seen from Dante, he hasn't shown anything bigger than that. But it doesn't seem like nearly as much of like this is my trump card as like what Blue Note had. I'm almost in the comments, and then I can get to this chapter. What I sent for Gray or Natsu? I mean, I like Natsu more than Gray. If I was a chick, what I sent for? I mean, I would probably pick someone like Jalal, to be perfectly honest. I'm a fan of Jalal. Jalal's the next figure I'm gonna buy. There's one I want to get, but it's like $450, and then plus shipping is like another $150. I'm gonna try and order it within the next month. I wanted to order it this month, but it's probably not gonna be until either the end of the month or sometime early in June. I really do want to buy it. Like, for the most part, there hasn't been a lot of expensive things I want lately. There's like that and like some cards I want to get at some point in the future. Definitely not as priority. Well, not priority. Definitely not as like wanting right now. But I'd say like the only expensive kind of nerd thing I really want right now is that Jalal statue when he's using Grand Chariot. I really want that one. I'm going to get it, and then I'm going to I think I don't think it's going to be as big as the, 1 second. I'll get to that super chat in a second. Thank you very much. I don't think it's going to be as big as the Urz one. I think it's going to be around the size of the Laxus one I got, but I have no idea. Either way, we'll see. Let me get to the super chat. Thank you, Gravity Dragon, for the $5. I was talking about Lick during Eye and the Midnight Sun arc. I mean, that one's still, like, he still, like, has, like, light speed attacks, and he should, like, just by the way that we know his whole stockpiling of magic was, he should still have that spell that he used against Julius. Even though it happened outside of that arc, it's something that he would still logically be able to use, because he was about to in the cave arc. So I would still give it to Patri. But I mean that's switching over, because I thought it was Lake, but every time about like Patri, I'd still give it to Patri, to be perfectly honest. Because like I said, that attack isn't something that Laxus would be able to deal with for Fighting Festival Laxus. I'm talking about now Laxus, like claps. See how durable Kaido is. Suzaku's slashes won't do that much. Yeah, I've seen how durable Kaido is. Like there's nothing that Kaido has shrugged off that I think even gets remotely close to Suzaku. And on top of that, Suzaku is so much faster. Being able to damage Selene is beyond anything in One Piece. I don't think anybody in One Piece could hurt Selene. Selene would completely no-diff that entire universe. Nobody in One Piece could stand a chance against her. Get some more of these. And there, I don't believe for a second, Guillotine, you think that anybody in One Piece is a threat to Selene. Put all of One Piece against her. Put everybody in their prime, and she's washing the hell out of them. Suzaku is absolutely blitzing. What do you mean? Like, light speed is big in One Piece. Light speed stopped being anything in Fairy Tail from Grand Magic Games base Natsu. Come on. Guillotine, you're crazy, man. Raxisi anime lately video on Shinra versus Asta you think would win? Shinra versus Asta? It should be Asta. I would definitely give it to Asta, especially with Devil Union. Like, he should have no problem, like, one, having the physical strength to fight him. He's got the reactions to fight him. And Shinra doesn't have the durability, I think, to really kind of handle, like, those brute force, like, raw hits from Asta. Adam lost because his emotions the better of him. That he shouldn't have even, like, he was so much faster and so much stronger than them that they should have looked like snails, even if he's, like, it was a little bit messed up in the head. He should have clapped them. He was talking shit to Blake while beating her, and then at one point put his weapon away and bitch slapped her. Like, he wasn't, like, just messing around with her. It wasn't even a fight for him. He blitzed and one-shot yanked from 100% through her aura and cut off her hand with no difficulty whatsoever. That was literally just, he got in stance, he slashed, she was done. Like, he no-diffed the living shit out of them. It wasn't like, oh, they got somewhat of a fight out of him, and then, like, this time, like, because he was, like, so there was something wrong with him emotionally, they were able to beat him. It's like, it was such a big gap that it, like, him in any way, unless he's, like, asleep and sick, like, I don't see how they should have even remotely got close to fighting him. Especially after, like, months of Yang just sitting in bed. Blake was just protesting. They weren't training. It wasn't like post-time skip where they came back. Everybody came back way more powerful. And, like, you'd have to get something that actually makes sense of why they could suddenly fight him. No, it's been a while. That, like, me talking about Adam at the time, I could go back and watch the video. Like, I would just have to listen to the tone of my voice. I'd be coping. Because, like, it just got more agitating from there on. Like, I would have to go back and talk to myself and, like, ask why I would possibly okay with that if that was the case. Because it still bothers me. It's been years, and it still bothers the hell out of me, the fact that they were able to even remotely fight Adam. It would be like if, like, we know that, like, Urza at that state, and Natsu and Base, nothing to Suzaku. He blitzed the hell out of him. If suddenly Base Natsu and, in that same version of Urza, were able to, it's like, somewhat drained Urza, in her whole clear heart armor, it'd be like those same versions. In fact, they should be even potentially weaker, because, like, they didn't really do anything for months. But, like, say same versions, and suddenly they can fight Suzaku, and it'd be like Suzaku would get, pushed without any development in their abilities, anything really new to advance them. It's just like, because. And it was so upsetting. I forgot to say Reed Mashal. Yeah, Reed Mashal. Mashal's good. Captain Connor will end up the Eden Zero crew. I hope so. I mean, it's basically he's in Eden's 1 now. Is he gonna voice Jin? I don't know. Who should voice Jin? They should get somebody like Rogue's voice actor. Maybe somebody like with a deeper voice than that. You think Shura is worse than Lucia? Worse than Lucia? No. Like, I would say yeah. I think in terms of, like, evilness, because, like, Lucia's a bad guy, but Lucia didn't just go out of his way to murder people for no reason, the way that Shura does, and with, like, little care or value to their existences. I'd voice Moscow and Nino for free. I want Nino to come back at some point. Urza versus second form Ulquiorra. Urza's fine. Like, Ulquiorra, like, he had power in that state, but one, he's not fast enough. That version especially is not fast enough to fight Urza. But on top of that, his whole, like, big thing, his whole Lanza, like, he has poor control over it. He's bad at aiming it. We know that factually. It's upsetting. Suzaku is like, I keep saying Suzaku because I'm thinking about the chapter. Ulquiorra is like Marred Gear to me, or it's like, man, I wish that they showed up a little bit later so they could be even more powerful than they possibly were. Because, like, those are two characters that I really wish were some of, like, the top people in the series, but unfortunately were not. There was still a large gap between, like, where they were and then, like, really when you get to, like, heftier people within the verse. Because obviously, like, a relatively, like, a majority of the Sternrender would have no problem against Ulquiorra, whereas, like, maybe not no problem, but they would beat him. Whereas, for Marred Gear, like, relatively any of the Spriggans should be able to defeat him. Like, maybe people like Nineheart no, but, like, relatively they should be able to defeat him without a whole lot of problems. Let me see. What about Whitebeard Selene? Like I said, Selene claps all of One Piece. That's not a fight. What would they possibly do against her? She's physically stronger than them. She's more powerful than them. She knows more about them. She's more hacks than any of them. She can literally just teleport them to other dimensions with no problem whatsoever. She's literally affecting another planet in a different dimension just by starting to fight somewhat seriously. Like, what would anybody in One Piece possibly do to her? Ignia versus Neo Acacia? I don't think Ignia can take that. Like, Toriko power levels get crazy. Only Selene beats Whitebeard's by... No, Selene just outright dominates Whitebeard. Stop, man. Get out of here with that. That's ridiculous. One Piece power levels don't come close to Fairy Tail power levels. Selene just starting to fight seriously is affecting a planet in a different dimension and enlarge the moon to the point where it's bigger than Earth. Like, people looked into the numbers. Apparently, like, the moon is bigger, like, the one in Elentier is bigger than Earth, which is fully believable considering it should still be at the same distance, but it's so much bigger in view of it. So she's passively planet level. She would fuck over One Piece so easy.
Okay, it looks like I'm about caught up for the most part.
What would Aizen do to Selene? Like, none of his Kita would work. His his Shikai wouldn't work. Like, what, Reishi abilities? You know, you treat Reishi and magic the same, so she's gonna pretty much be immune to it.
She's gonna laugh at him. What's up, Akira, man? How are you doing today?
Luffy saying okay, cool. Luffy saying those attacks are slow. If you want to even say those are actually light speed, considering they're made by Kizaru's lasers. Sure, if you really want to go like that. But it's like, that's still in Fairy Tail. Base Grand Magic Games Natsu. Look at them now versus then. Natsu in the Grand Magic Games, at best, was low Wizard Saint level. People like Jura, who were able to fight completely blitz somebody like Orga, should be on level with people like Sting and Rogue. So they should also, like, he should also be fully capable of dodging Sting's roar. It would be nonsense to say that, like, Sting's roar is too fast for Orga when we know that, like, the 5 of them were all relatively, for the most part, close, except for Minerva. And Jura clapped him. Jura kept up with Laxus. Jura kept up with Jalal. Jura got completely no-diffed with Wolfheim, Hyperion, and Wolfheim. Like, against God Serena, who wasn't even taking them seriously. Look at, like, the sheer gap between a Spriggan and a Wizard Saint is huge. And this was Jura, who, that version of Jura would no-diff Natsu. He would completely crush Natsu if they fought in the Grand Magic Games. Like, your grasp on the power gap between Fairy Tail and One Piece is ridiculous.
Let me see. Physically, who's stronger? Post-time skip Elfman when he fought Natsu or Hades? Wait, what?
Oh, you mean, like, I would say Hades, because the thing about, like, with Elfman is Elfman's, like, actually pretty strong. Like, Elfman should be, in terms of strength and durability, within Spriggan level, but he's just so slow. He's canonically slow. So he's not fully at their level because he can't keep up with any of these guys. But I don't think that physical strength-wise, I don't know if he was around, like, with Hades. I could see it somewhat just because, like, some of the scaling that he has. And, you know, he's able to swap blows now. So, like, his is like a maybe through scaling. Otherwise, Hades for, like, outright feats. Like, Hades straight up, like, grabbed Tight Makarov and pulled him to the ground like nothing.
I think I'm good. I think I'm caught up in the comments. Wonder if Urza can tank
Alonza. Yeah, Urza should be fine. Alonza's like what? Like island level? That's nothing for Fairy Tail. Like, she's gonna be fine. But anyway, we're at like an hour and a half in. I'm going to end it because I do want to get to this chapter review and get to this before, because it's going to be like 20, 30 minutes of me reviewing it, and then it's going to be probably like 20 minutes plus of rendering it, and then it's going to be like an hour just to upload it. So I do want to get on this. Normal stream on Saturday. My schedule might change within the next couple weeks to maybe next couple months, but I'll inform you guys if that happens. Until then, we're going to keep to the normal Saturday streams, and then Tuesdays whenever 100 Years Quest